So greetings and welcome to another segment of Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman. My name is Peter Updike, and we're going to talk about, this is kind of going to be an unscripted, make it up, kind of talk about it as we go video. And something that a conversation with a hunting buddy has developed a thought process in my mind that we need to discuss. And the question that always comes up for me with newcomers to Florida, people that move here that hunt other places, whether it would be the Ocala National Forest or Osceola or Big Cypress or all points in between, the Green Swamp. It's kind of a crazy topic, and I'm gonna touch on it here for just a minute. And that is the question: when is the rut? Someone wants to say, well, the rut, is crucial in my mind to planning my hunt. So give me some tips. Tell me when is the best time to hunt, whether it would be, a wildlife management area in the Panhandle or in South Florida or Central Florida. The question is still the same. What can you tell me to help me about the rut? I want to plan my hunt. And a fellow hunter, a buddy of mine, called me the other day. He was out scouting. This guy scouts like a madman, and he kills deer too. And he messaged me and told me that he saw 2 spotted fawns, and this was a week ago. All right, he saw 2 spotted fawns, and he did the arithmetic, and he kind of guessed at what age the fawns were, and then worked his way backwards and decided that they were bred somewhere between late January and early February. And it was in an area that it kind of surprised him. And he automatically got to thinking, well, that must be when the rut is for that management area. Now, let's talk about the rut for a minute. Let's define what hunters call a rut. All right, so we're all on the same page here. The rut would be defined as a time when bucks are seeking does at a high level, or they're even chasing does that have not yet completed their pathway to estrus. And there's a small window there that a doe can be bred. And that doe would be putting off, scents and smells and hormones and all of these things that trigger a race. She's not ready. She won't stand. She's not going to. And we're off to the races. And a deer hunter is sitting in his tree stand when a doe runs by. And then a buck comes by and he's going burp, burp, burp. He's grunting. Well, that hunter would say, well, boy, the rut is on. Right? And the thing that triggers that, as far as a nation, as us as a hunting nation as a whole, of the whitetail nation, whether it be in Michigan or Texas or South Carolina or Illinois or Iowa it doesn't matter. That the fall of the year, the turning of seasons, and the shortening of days, in other words, daylight, triggers this thing. And I don't understand it all. I just know enough to be interested in it, right? That as the days get shorter, the antlers harden up and the velvet cracks and peels, and the buck is compelled to start marking his territory, and he feels this sense of domination that he needs to dominate the area, and he really doesn't know why until later on when he understands that he wants to breed, and he wants to breed does. And this is what's going on in your woods and my woods, no matter where you live. At some level, that's happening. So, I always preach and instruct my fellow hunting buddies that no matter where you live, if you like to hunt often, you should hunt the woods closest to your home. Why? Because you'll learn more and more and more about that area as time goes by. When I say time goes, season after season after season after season. If I see a buck chasing a doe, well, I'll never forget that, right? If I kill that deer, I'll never forget that. And I'll always have that in my memory. When did that happen? Oh, that happened on Thanksgiving weekend. All right, then. Okay, so it happened Thanksgiving weekend. That's in November. That sounds pretty normal. and then someone else is hunting in that same management area, and they see two spotted fawns that look like newborns. And you do the arithmetic, and how many of you guys have seen spotted fawns at odd times of the year? And you've experienced this. And now you're asking yourself, what about the rut? What's going on here? I remember during the archery season, I was in the Half Moon Wildlife Management Area, and I saw a doe in a newborn fawn, and that would have been in October. That would have been like October 15th. And here's this newborn. Newborn. I'm not talking about 60 pounds. I'm talking about like 8 pounds, 5 pounds, little old bitty thing. They come trotting by my stand. I saw it with my own eyes. And somebody will say, oh, the rut's on in early November or in October or whatever. And here we've got this little fawn, and you did the arithmetic. That would have been sometime during spring gobbler season. What's up with that? Right? So yeah, it's complicated, and it's hard to wrap our brains around it, but I'm gonna try and help us. I'm gonna try and talk us through it. Yet if you've seen spotted fawns at odd times of the year, if you've seen activity, I want you to please comment and let me know where you live, and yes, so it can be a window into what the rest of us are experiencing. And I personally feel like if you ask the question, when is the rut in Florida, you're asking a question that's so complicated and so in depth with so many different folds in it that it's almost impossible to answer. Now, I've hunted in Alabama, I've hunted in Georgia, deer hunted I've elk hunted out west in Colorado and Wyoming, and the rut is so different there than here. Elk rut and only lasts for a very short time. And the deer rut in Georgia, my buddy would call me and say, look, you know, we saw some activity. It looks like it's building up to something, and there's a cold front coming. I want you to get up here if you want to kill your buck. Because it was that important. And if you didn't get there and hunt, now some of it was a little bit hysteria. Okay, I'll admit some of it was, the rut is on, you better get up here, hurry, 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 and you fall into this trap, right? And not realizing that you can kill a deer, you can kill a deer outside the rut. But they were so hung up on the rut that it was almost like Easter Sunday for churchgoers, right? The rut is on, you can't miss it, and you got to be there. And I've killed my fair share of deer during the rut. It also can be difficult because, again, those bucks many times are running past and they're chasing does and they don't care. They're not stopping for anything, and it can be crazy. But I was listening to a seminar on a video cassette tape, and I think it was the University of Georgia. There was a guy on there named Dr. Martin Martington. He was kind of old then, and it was about 25 years ago, and it was over, and he started naming different areas and talking about the rut and talking about antler growth and all of these things. And he said, and it stuck with me, I heard him say with my own ears, there are some deer in Florida breeding year round. And I never forgot that short sentence that he said, and then kind of a light bulb went off. And yeah, that must be what I'm seeing. That I'm seeing deer breeding at times when it makes no sense. Now, I still say that if I'm hunting in the Ocala National Forest, I want to be in the woods up until at least Thanksgiving weekend. And yeah, if I can be in the woods Thanksgiving weekend, that's my preferred time. I like being there during that time because I feel like the rut is more likely, that is a higher percentage. But I've only killed a handful of deer during that time. I've seen a couple of bucks that I didn't get a shot at. But again, my biggest buck that came out of the Ocala National Forest, I didn't get him till a week before the last day. It was the weekend before the last day, or it was a few days before the last day in January. That made no sense, but that's the way it is. And so, in conclusion, when we talk about the rut in Florida, we're across the board. And knowing the area that you're hunting and having personal experiences is probably the most important key in unraveling this mystery of when is the rut. And knowing that the does trigger the rut, but the fall and the fall of the year compel the bucks to prepare. And it's far more complicated than anything I can imagine. But if you see spotted fawns during the archery season or late summer or even during gun season, if you see small spotted fawns, I wouldn't tell you to totally ignore that and say, well, the FWC got it all wrong. The rut, I know because I saw. Just remember the words of Dr. Martington. He said, you have some deer in Florida breeding year-round. I think that's what you're seeing. Prepare for the rut in your area, whether it be in October, November, December. Like down in the Green Swamp, they say it's in January. They've got the season going all the way to the 1st of February. Because somebody somewhere believes that your chances might be better at a good, solid, quality buck during that time of year, and they want to keep the season open, and they closing it in other areas because they know it's over. That's just the way they manage the WMAs here in Florida, and I support that. I've got here some of these tags from WMAs, bucks I killed. I save them. I've got 3 or 4 of them that are still on the rack, but I was able to fish these off because they clipped them. They were going to clip them to the rack, and they clipped them to the leg, that little tendon on the back leg. So I was able to retrieve them. But these are kind of cool. I like saving stuff like this. I've got quota permits from back in the day when they used to mail them to you in the mail, and you got a little card. And then when you got your buck at the check station, they'd stamp that thing. It says buck filled. I've got that thing in a scrapbook. I kind of wish they did things like that still, but they don't. Now we use our cell phones to record our harvest and all that sort of thing. And I think technology's kind of robbed us. Don't let the technology rob your hunting experience. All right, that's today's video. If you want to know when the rut is, get out there and find out for yourself. And we'll talk to you soon. Love you guys. See ya. Bye.